So we are now, of course, delighted to welcome Matt Faure to the virtual stage. He's the president and CEO of Trimac, and he's been in that role since early 2016. Matt has over 25 years of experience in the transportation, logistics, and supply chain industry, and he now leads a lot of the transformation initiatives at the company. But prior to joining Trimac, Matt was vice president of intermodal for Canadian Pacific Railway, where he was responsible for leading a lot of their domestic and North American and international import-export portfolios. So Matt, welcome, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, RV, and thank you, Mike, for your comments. I really appreciate you inviting me here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Plug and Play, for inviting me here today to have a conversation on the topic of digital delivery. We'd like to share how we've seen supply chains and many other companies, including Trimac, had to respond quickly to the change presented by COVID, and how it has changed the landscape in a very quickly. We had to challenge some paradigms ourselves. We had to react quickly, as I mentioned, and we had to expedite some part of the transformation. And how we see this is we see that COVID actually accelerated a trend that was going to happen anyways. So first, let me introduce Trimac and myself. Trimac is turning 75 years old in 2020. It's a family business that started in 1945 in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Jack McKeag at the time started the business. Now we have the fourth generation of the McKeags working in the business. But Jack started with an idea of disruption. This was post Great Depression in Canada, and had the idea of bulk trucking in order to disrupt the railway monopoly on what was happening in Western Canada. So he started by being very innovative and doing something that no one else was doing before or has done before. And he was basically the small David taking the giant Goliaths on, taking the railway head on in this market. So overall, Trimac has a long history in Western Canada, but overall 75 years also throughout North America through many acquisitions. For myself, I joined Trimac in 2016 to lead the transformation. First, operational transformation turnaround, and then now growth and technological turnaround. My background, as RV mentioned, about 10 years in rail and 20 years in trucking and logistics. Trimac is a North American player. We have about 135 locations continent-wide. So from all the way Los Angeles, California, to on the northeast, Mont Pearl in Newfoundland, and all the way from Tampa, Florida, in the southeast to Dawson's Creek, British Columbia. So basically, we're present in every major population center in North America. And we're offering our services, which are bulk trucking and bulk transportation, and throughout North America. So we have all sorts of services. The most important being the bulk transportation, but also our national tank services, which are 42 large industrial repair, maintenance, and wash rack sites throughout North America. We have bulk plus logistics, which are transload and storage location. So basically truck to rail, rail to truck, and as well as storage handling and so on, storage management. We have a brokerage division. And then more recently, we've made the two acquisitions, one in the energy sector. So that's named Trimac Energy Services. We're hauling a lot of crude, which is not, which has been very affected in these days, but it's again, very diversified. And B&B, which is more in the food business. So when you look at our business, we're very diversified from a commodity, very diversified from a geography. We're very much into industrial, construction, infrastructure, basic materials, chemicals, energy. We're really the backbone of America And what we're trying to achieve here is making North America more competitive every day by being the most efficient possible. But this is us in early 2020 trying to really take the pulse of what's happening and what would be coming and what we could have never predicted for 2020. We were already aware of a slowdown of the manufacturing market in 2019. We had a lot of competitors go bankrupt, and it was literally a perfect storm in 2019 with a surge of capacity in our industry and a decrease of the supply. So then you've got many challenges that are coming in with lower volume and higher capacity. But then you add that to the challenging political landscape that we've had in North America with the trade war and the trade agreement between USMCA, for example. And then many overall disruption in the supply chain because of that. Importers, accelerating their imports or waiting on their imports to see how the trade war would land and so on. We also had in our industry a lot of nuclear verdicts, and nuclear verdicts come from insurers. And what's happening mainly in the U.S. is a challenge with those nuclear verdicts, which are basically awards over $10 million for sometimes very minor incidents, and that they are creating havoc in the industries and basically making business very, very difficult. There's the obvious one, which is the driver challenges that we've got. It's not a very attractive industry for drivers. We have a lot of our drivers retiring every day. We have about 300 drivers retiring every day because they're mainly baby boomers. And there's not a lot of the newer generation that are coming into the industry. So we've got this challenging driver retention and recruitment for the industry. And then the last one, which is why we're here today, is the transportation is being disrupted as we speak in terms of the new economy. You see this every day. A lot of it comes with the online purchasing and so on. But you see major shifts coming in, major players coming in, Amazon coming in, FedEx all of a sudden abandoning the contract with Amazon's and things like that are coming in, and there are major shifts in the industry. So those were already very challenging conditions in 2019 and 2020. And then now on top of that, you've got the COVID-19 pandemic that is coming in, which is transforming the way we are doing business and as I mentioned, accelerating the need for us to change. But you also have disruption to world energy markets that we believe are going to be long lasting. They're global, and they're really putting pressure on North American economies and so on. And we were already expecting a large recession. We're already planning for this because, as I mentioned, we saw some manufacturing slowdown in 2019. So now we need to rethink all aspects of supply chain to adapt to what we see as the new normal. In summary, we were expecting a technological and a political disruption in 2020, not necessarily a biological or an oil shock that would actually result in significant demand destruction. So this is not new for us in terms of disruption. So it's one disruption or the other, but we've been on the innovation journey since 1945 when we created a new way to service our customer. But more recently and pre-COVID, we've been actively engaged in technological disruption as advancement in technology are quickly accelerating in our space, in the transportation space. So that's why we've been active at Plug and Play and other locations across North America. So you only need to think about electric vehicles, hydrogen cells, hydrogen fuel cells, autonomous vehicles. They're all emerging, and they will provide new efficiencies in our industry and then opportunities to reduce costs. But all of them, they're not commercially viable yet. There's new systems and application as well that are allowing new entrants and industry mainstays to actually shift their business models and develop new product and service more quicker than before. And we've seen a lot of new entrants coming in as well. So all of these change mean that, and especially COVID, means that we need to adapt our thinking and accelerate the adoption and transformation of our business through new process changes that are now supported by these new technologies that are coming in. So here's a few examples of how this worked at Trimac. You saw on the previous slide, that was the Tesla Semi. We're going to be one of the first one to have our hands on the Tesla Semi in 2021. This is something that we've been working with them since the very beginning to test it in our space. The same thing is going to happen for Hydrogen Self Company. There's a few companies right now that are developing the technology. So we're in the front of the line, and we want to continue to be on with them. And then there's the Alien technology, which is what you're seeing here, which basically is an hybrid technology. And this is something that we tested back in 2017, 2018. So we're a bit early here, but the technology has evolved significantly in the last few years. We're also part of a project called the AZTech project, and that is the University of Calgary led project. It's basically a $7.3 million grant from Emission Reduction Alberta that was awarded for University of Calgary to partner with two partners in the industry, including Trimac, to build 2 tractors to run a 200-mile run between Calgary and Edmonton in 2021 on hydrogen fuel cells. So we're not waiting for the big producers to come in. We're doing it ourselves. We're going to test this, and we're actually testing the technology and developing the technology as we speak and putting it to good use. All of these are great projects aiming to provide sooner than later a viable solution that can deliver the same performance without disrupting currently the supply chain. What we found was that, and so far the technology may evolve, but what we found so far is that electric is turning out to be a great option for short haul and city work, while as hydrogen fuel cells are going to have the capacity to actually perform at the same utility with today's range and at the same weight, which for us in bulk is critical. And you can do all this while reducing greenhouse gases by up to 25% and leveraging the current infrastructure that you have by putting some hydrogen cells, refueling station, and so on. So what we're seeing here is that this is developing rapidly. And what we're fully expecting, or our intent here, is that we're going to continue to develop this technology, and we're going to continue to be involved, but in future phases with upgraded facilities and so on, employing carbon captures, for example, we believe the emissions could be even further reduced to maybe up to 90%. So that's the potential of that technology. So overall, a great technology for the environment, great for the supply chain, great for the industries, most importantly, all the right things to do. And we're proud to be part of the leaders in pushing this forward. Trimac, as I mentioned, is in 135 locations across North America. So we have a very decentralized workforce. So what we're trying to do here is to use technology at multiple sectors in our business. And one of them is to advance training using technology. This is a pilot led by Trimac to use virtual reality to train our drivers in product handling. We're handling a lot of different products, as I mentioned earlier, throughout North America. So we want to make sure that we've got every single driver that is equipped, has the training, and can do the work the safest way possible. So not only does this virtual reality improves the safety and performance of our driving force, but we want it to become a muscle memory, and that they're doing it because they've practiced it so much. And there's now the added ability to create real scenarios that would be risky in a traditional or the real environment. So for example, if there was a crisis, if there was a problem, how would you react? And then train our drivers the same way we would train airline pilots to react to emergencies, and then test and continue to improve on it. So we've had great response so far from drivers to users to customers to regulators, and we look forward to continue to develop and deploy this technology throughout the industry. Finally, we've partnered with Plug and Play to find a value-added software and startup to enhance the user experience. One of them, might mention, is Bulky with our partner BASF, and this is a matching platform for bulk, which is great and growing and developing quickly. But we've also partnered with other startups across the industry to do many proof of concept, proof of value, run pilots, and we've even made some investments in platform. We see this as not only are we coming in through the startup overall and the ecosystem, but we're coming in with the benefits of an established business, established understanding of the lever in our business. We have assets, we have customers. And one of the startups we partnered with was Rose Rocket. We found them through Plug and Play. What you see here is a real-time location, visibility, and ETA platform for our customers who can go in, log in, and see real-time where their shipments are, when it's coming, what's in the truck, and so on. So full-time visibility. So the vision here is to continually add function, but to remain focused on increasing the user experience, value added to our business, so that we can go in. But then we're developing all this, and we're really excited, and we're getting momentum. And then COVID happened, and what we're seeing is a lot of us are hunkering down. We quickly moved from being aggressive to being on our heels and being in defense mode, and then we're clearly in a crisis. And we've seen a lot of folks saying, well, we're running this pilot, but right now with COVID, we're just going to slow down a bit. It reminded us to what we're seeing is the Chinese have used two characters to write crisis. The first one is danger, and the second one is opportunity. And there's no doubt there's a lot of danger out there with COVID, and it has disrupted supply chain. But at Trimac, we choose to focus on the opportunity one, because disruption and the emergence of new technology is providing us with a new way or new ways to deliver an improved business model, a better service, and a step function change in the customer experience. So in the COVID and the post-COVID environment, we see this as an opportunity for us to leverage the recent learnings we've made, work collaboratively with more partners in the industry to address overall industry challenges and accelerate initiatives around digital delivery that are even more relevant today than they were 3 months ago. Like everyone else, we responded quickly to the challenge, and we used those three concepts. I'm going to go very quickly over these. We basically started with a respond, which was the crisis management. So the focus on the health and well-being of our workers. So for us, that lasted a month. So from mid-March to mid-April. Basically, we shifted to virtual workplace. 97% of our non-front line employees are working remotely right now, including all our service centers, where we left our frontline employees in our frontline branches or terminals. We've deployed cleaning kits throughout all our vehicles so that they can be self-sustaining. We've developed vehicle videos on how to clean your vehicle, for example, how to stay safe, all of these things. We've increased touch points with customers and employees. We've developed the continuing planning, and basically our customers have not noticed anything that we've done. So our business continuity planning plan actually worked. And then we quickly shifted to recover in mid-April. And for us, the recover is a clear focus on scenario planning, and then moving from defense to offense, going more aggressively on providing solution to our customers and trying to find opportunities to help our customer rebound more quickly. And the last one, obviously, is Thrive, and that is predicting what the new normal is going to be and how we're going to be successful in the new normal. And very quickly, we identified that technology will play a key part as we have a very diverse workforce. So in the new normal, and that's what we'd like to talk about today, is in the Thrive, we know we'll have to change our paradigms. We have multiple service centers today. We're going to have to rethink that. How does that work in the new normal? How does that work in a post-pandemic environment? We have, on a daily basis, we have to do road tests when we hire drivers. How can we change the road test process? Today, it's a driver coach or a driver trainer that hops into the cab on the passenger seat and evaluates how you're driving the vehicle. Tomorrow, can it be a person riding along, observing what you're doing through factual and evaluation? So that might be the video that have forward-facing and inward-facing camera. That might be the data from the engine. That might be the data from all the telemetry we have on the vehicle to assess if you're actually doing what you should be doing and if you are a safe driver. Another example is there's going to be more acceptance of virtual and visual training mode, more YouTube-like video, for example, to show how we do things and how we train people and so on, as opposed to how we're doing it today, which is more one-on-one. And the last one that we thought about, that we want to talk about today, is the contactless delivery. How do you eliminate paper exchange in this world of COVID, where you have an issue with actually physical assets? And how do you gain trust for a new approach going forward across the supply chain? Because the supply chain have been impacted significantly. There's a stat that I saw last week was that over 78% of US manufacturers expect a financial impact and many supply chain disruption, because overnight manufacturer had to lock down their plants and cease production, leaving a lot of people in the dark, a lot of their supply chain in the dark. And what we found is that a lot of experts in supply chain, they had visibility. A lot of them had visibility to their tier one vendor, but COVID shone a light on visibility much further down the chain. And as we know, over the last few years, supply chains became much more efficient and therefore more complex and longer. So now you've got visibility to only the immediate tier one, but after that, we don't know what's happening. And now we're surprised, and sometimes not good surprise. Because we were identified as an essential service, we made ourselves available to customer to quickly fill the gaps. And that's how we became aware of those challenges past the tier one. So we were moving many products from many different products now, from different origin and different destinations. So now we're going to new destination, and that's a risk for us. And we want to make sure that we do that safely. So all of a sudden, we're moving large quantity of products to maintain plants running into new destination, and we're faced with basic challenges. We get into a plant, how do we sign in? It used to be that we get into the gatehouse, and then we took a pen and we signed in, and then we shared our bill of lading and so on. We can't do that anymore. What do we do now? How do we engage the on-site personnel to make sure that we confirm the delivery location? It used to be that there was one on-site personnel that would jump into the truck with us and drive us to exactly where we needed to deliver the product. How do you do that now? And the last one is, how do you confirm the delivery when you can't exchange anything physical anymore? It used to be a physical bill of lading. It's not, we can't exchange that anymore. So how do you solve that problem in the new normal? So trade has always been a paper-driven industry. When you think about how much paperwork comes in through either a truck or a boat or an airline. You have bill of lading, packing list, delivery instruction, MSDS sheets, and the list goes on. In some cases, paper copies are required by law. For example, you need paperwork to cross the border. So the customer agent can stamp it. Well, not anymore, because now they've decided I don't want to do it. So now we've had to find new ways. You need paper on the side of the road for if there's an incident. The fire departments require paperwork at all time if there's hazmat. The state trooper on the side of the highway will require paperwork to understand what type of load you're handling. But those are old problems, because when you think about, we used to have a logbook in our trucks and we're able to move digital. Now, I believe this is the opportunity for COVID to actually move us to accelerate that trend to go digital. So what COVID made clear is that we cannot depend on operations that have physical assets, such as paper, because you're going to face serious disruption in the future as if we continue to hold on to paper. So think about, now it leads us to think about how the process works. Normally, when we get into a site to deliver, we hand the paper to the on-site personnel. They come back into the gate, the gate, and then they take that paperwork, they enter it into the system, they validate that actually it's the right delivery, it's the right product. They take copies of the documentation, they file it, and then once they have it, then they update their own system in order to add it into the system. And this doesn't occur instantly. It's a really challenging process, and it's a long process, and sometimes there's errors in the process. So what we've noticed very quickly is shipper and consignee rely on this information, this paper document, to have their to update their own information and make sure now they put it into inventory, and that doesn't make sense in the new world. So it's not necessarily just a matter of we won't be able to do it here. It's not necessarily just a matter of cost. It's going to be cheaper to get rid of the paperwork. It's a matter of safety. It's a matter of visibility, and it's a matter of better management of the supply chain. In order to limit the point of failure and other safety risks, it only makes sense to make data available through digital means and to move to digital deliveries. So what we've done here is we haven't waited. So as soon as we see this issue bubbling up, we've engaged our partner, Isaac Instrument, in early April, and together we developed a very crude way so far to digitalize the delivery. Right now it's in pilot. We only have a few drivers piloting this new process. The process is certainly not perfect, but it's a start. And what we're doing right now is we still have the paperwork because we still need it. We have the paperwork in the cab. We're taking a scan of the paperwork in the cab, and we're sending it to the gate and the customer, the consignee, to confirm the delivery by email or geofencing. So again, it's not perfect, it's inefficient, but it was our way to use technology quickly to actually move the delivery forward. That eliminates the safety issue, that provides all visibility that the consignee needs and shipper needs, and that provided us with a quick acceptance of the delivery as well as guidance of where we need to go. So the intent here is very simple. We need to find a digital way to first, one, digitally check in at the gatehouse and remove any contact point, and even better, through geofencing, advise in advance the gatehouse that this truck is coming with this product and it's going to be there at this time. Number two, contactless approval of where to unload, and that it's clear to all parties. And number three, contactless digital confirmation the delivery has occurred and is accepted. We're really early in the process, and we're certainly not perfect, but it works. But now it only works for Trimac, and we believe we need an industry solution. So that's why we're here today. Because one thing that we've learned over the innovation journey is that we cannot do this alone. We cannot on our own take on this industry challenge and then come in a few months later and say, ta-da, we've solved it, without engaging all the partners in the industry because there's multiple perspective and multiple issues here. So what we've learned quickly is transformation is a team sport. We need to associate ourselves with like-minded individuals, develop partnerships, collaborate with customers, include stakeholders, include shippers and consignees, all of us to drive the change. If we all working in one piece of this big puzzle together in a silo, then we're going to do like we're doing here in this 1950 Indianapolis Grand Prix, where you've got one person for the tire, one person for the coffee for the pilot, one person for the fuel. It's going to take us forever, and we may never get there. And not only that, we may get there in parallel at a higher cost. So we need to work together. We need to put our brains together to learn from each other's mistakes and successes, use the past learnings as stepping stones for breaking through, and engage the whole ecosystem to ensure the full adoption. We need to fully understand the problem, and we need everyone's input to find the solution. We need to get more like this 2013 Melbourne Grand Prix pit stop, and it's even faster today, because everybody has a role to play. Everybody comes in, everybody knows what they need to do, and together we can achieve more. So this is why we've invited you today to participate in this digital delivery webinar to kickstart the conversation and to work together to find a solution that works and provide value for every stakeholder in the industry. Not only will it keep our team safe and healthy, it will also enhance the visibility of the supply chain for everyone and improve on the overall efficiency. So with that, that concludes the keynote. And now I'll be ready for some questions.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. I think we will kick it off with the first question that we have in the chat here. So to all of those that have dialed in or logged in virtually, please participate with us by asking questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. I think we have Matt for another 5 minutes or so, so we're going to get to some of these questions. So Matt, first up, I think one of the issues that some companies are facing is not necessarily with implementation, but with convincing adoption. And that can be to the driver, that could be kind of to your frontline worker. So how is Trimac, and how are you kind of tackling this notion of maybe a behavioral shift or a mindset shift, that it is okay that these protocols are safe and that you can trust the design?
Mm-hmm. Great question, and something that we didn't foresee when we started our innovation journey, technological innovation journey recently. We thought we could come with a great idea and then push it down, top down, and that approach obviously doesn't work. So what we're doing is very quickly we're engaging all the stakeholders. In this case, that was the digital delivery, for example. We very quickly engage drivers and say, "Do you have any ideas?" The ideas came from greengrass routes. We quickly engage drivers to pilot it. And now you've got drivers talking to drivers saying, this is working. It made my life easier. I now have it quicker. I don't have to get out of the cab. So you have the stamp of approval from somebody that they trust to bring on innovation. So after that, it's communication and training, and making it available and making it that actually it's working 100% of the time. If it's not working 100% of the time, that's where we continue to have challenges. So it needs to have a product that actually works. It needs to have grassroots start and early adoption from a few individuals that are doing the work. And then you have to have the stamp of approval from people they trust.
So next question here is kind of around maybe step changes in innovation. So there's some excitement around what you're doing with hydrogen cell batteries, for example. What was the trigger for you guys to start to take a look and adopt some of that technology from a pilot perspective?
Well, as I mentioned, we've been on this innovation journey for a long time here, and we are always looking for ways to improve. However, in the last, I'm going to say, few years here, we became paranoid with disruptors coming in. There's deep pockets, very creative very resourceful new entrants in the industry that are coming into our business and with the sole purpose to disrupt it. And we decided very early we had three choices. Either we're going to put our hand in the sand and we're going to say it's not going to happen to us. The second one is we're in the bulk trucking. They're going to go after the big dry van carriers, and we're going to have time to adapt. Or the third one is we're going to go into the offense. And obviously, we chose the offense. So what does it mean, offense? Well, it means that where do we believe we're going to be disrupted, and where is the most technology coming in? Where is technology accelerating the fastest? So we could put our efforts there. And one is autonomous electric vehicle, or autonomous different type of energy vehicle. So we've started very early to stay very close to this. And what we found was that there was a lot of promises, but very few people delivered so far. And the timelines keep on pushing back. And what we thought was we need to get involved ourselves. We need to become a leader in this, even though we don't manufacture any vehicle. We're the user, we're the end user, and it's the same thing as I was mentioning earlier with the innovation. You have to have end user acceptance and participation. We're a stakeholder, and what we found is that a lot of the manufacturers welcome our input or involvement in there. So it just felt natural for us.
And kind of moving into the digitization of paper, how do regulators and the government entities, how are they viewing your pilot that you're working on with Isaac, and what is happening, I guess, in that world from a regulatory perspective?
Well, we know there's two speed. There's the government speed and there's business speed. And right now, we just cannot afford for government speed. So what we found was that when we bring it forward and we explain how the process worked, what we found is that most government and regulators have been welcoming the participation because they see something in it for them. It's easiest for us to produce the paperwork if it's digital than if it's somewhere in the truck and things like that. It's just they have concerns that we need to address, and we're working on that. So we're working right now with various regulator stakeholders. The Custom Border Patrol, for example, would be one. In terms of associations, it's not necessarily only Trimac. It's the industry engaging those stakeholders to make sure that we iron out those issues and address their concerns, because those are legitimate concerns.
And what are some other stakeholders, industry partners that you are hoping to work with in the near term? You don't have to name any names, obviously, but what are some examples of those companies that you work with in a very coordinated effort that you're just now starting off to collaborate with?
What we've done over the last few years were called innovation summits, and we bring a few of our customers in summits. It's 2 to 3 day sessions. We listen to a lot of pitches from plug and play in terms of startups and so on. And then what we do is we take a whole afternoon and we identify a problem that we can work as an industry and as a supply chain. And those are some of the stakeholders that we bring in. So for sure, our customers, but also startups and our current technology partners. We feel it's easiest to all agree on one issue that is really a rock in the shoe of everyone in the industry, and then trying to apply either new process or new technology to actually put it in. And once you have everyone in a room and you say, we want to try this, who wants to try it with us? What we found was that most of everyone in the room are saying, absolutely, I want to be part of this and I want to try it with you, which makes, again, the testing, the adoption, and the communication of the new technology or the new process that much easier.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Matt. We appreciate you spending some time with us. We know you're busy, but we learned a lot, we unpacked a lot, and hopefully there are going to be some opportunities to connect you, I think, with some of the additional questions that we had rolling in.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.